Welcome to Common Ground. We are about enabling regenerative housing communities that are fostering connected, affordable, and sustainable living. And today we have Lisa Houghton, who is of the Rotorua tiny house community in development. We are Common Ground's offering a series. This is going to be the first in many, following Lisa's story that is from conception of the idea, and it's in real time, following this as she goes through the process of what it's like to be a community-led housing creator. It's a tiny house, but it follows similar pattern as others around intentional community. What is different than conventional property development? There's actually a very big difference. There's a lot of people who've got a lot of questions. How do I do this? Well, Lisa's kind of leading the way. She's going through the jungle, and we're following behind as she uncovers what's in this ecosystem that is fairly a new sector. We're able to learn as she learns what's going on in her community and how we can do the same. So this is one thing that Common Ground does, is that we highlight community creators, their journeys, those who are doing it and have done it. The other thing we offer are services to people who want some support, need some guidance, some help around either the regenerative aspects of community development or the practical nuts and bolts. We also have a membership, so anybody who would like to be more connected and engaged with those who are joining, creating, or servicing this kind of community development. We have that membership that's just starting up fairly soon. We offer workshops for skills development, and we have our website where everything can be found. So it's where you can find links to all that I have just talked about and the channels where this is living. So welcome to you all who are tuning in today. Welcome, Lisa, for being a guest and for being willing to be able to share your story with all of its unknowns as well, what you have been doing and where you are going with it. And it's a really exciting journey to be going on following with you. So welcome, Lisa. So please share with us about wherever you want to start with this Rotorua tiny house community. If that's even what are you calling it?
Thanks, Zola. Before I get going, because once I get going, I'll be off. I just want to say how wonderful it's been to meet you, because it's really opened my eyes. There's a whole network of amazing people with incredible vision, skills, and passion that really are they're like points out around us, holding the potential of what some people have created. There's definitely communities and co-housing up and running, but I get the feeling that there's this massive groundswell of people wanting to do things differently for all sorts of different reasons. And I just want to say that if that's one of you, if that's who you are, that there are a lot of people out in a network that's already established to guide and give advice and expertise and support. The collaboration is incredible. That's just been like hot air under my wings to connect in with the network and the community. It's very very generous. So thank you, Zola. Thank you for this opportunity to talk and to not only share the journey of what has been named at this stage as the Rotorua off-grid tiny house village, but also just to share the journey of what I consider to be a paradigm shift. And that is that for most of us, we've been living in our own place. I think of it up a driveway, and for a lot of us, I think we're noticing that really what's required on the planet at this time is that humanity needs to change. And those pressures are coming externally, obviously, from the climate, They're coming from the economy and the global situation we're finding ourselves all in. And they're coming socially, which is touching more into our personal worlds. And I suspect there's a lot of people that are considering, wow, what's the future going to look like? But also a bit more proactively, how do I want to live? How do I want to use what I've got, use my resources, and create something that's actually going to provide the resilience and the support and the kind of life that I know I can have. And I know for me that living up a driveway on my own isn't cutting the mustard. And so I've come up with a plan. I've come up with a vision, a design. Zola's laughing. And it's really, I've taken the core principle of regeneration and expressed it through the various avenues. And that is that I live here in Rotorua. This is where I want to be. We have beautiful spring-fed water here. It's an incredibly, stunningly beautiful place. I feel that the community and the culture here is very unique and special in New Zealand. I think from my experience anyway, there's a lot of ease and gentleness and kindness and sweetness and connection here. And I know that Māori being here and being valued and having place has basically set the stage for this area. So the next part of it is off-grid. And for me, I look at what our climate is doing and what our planet is showing signs of, and I look at how humanity has been living in the last 100 years, and I just see that we have departed from working with nature, which is what regeneration is in a nutshell, which creates abundance and network and support. I mean, you just go into a forest and scrape away the leaf litter to see that beautiful cycle. And I feel that mankind in the last 100 years has tried to control and dominate. I love the cat tail. It's tried to control and dominate nature and kind of get the most out of her, and that hasn't been working, and it's created immense poverty not only financially, but poverty where people don't have clean drinking water. The land is poisoned, the air is polluted, people are disconnected from the basics of growing their own food. So for me, off-grid it's like a remedy. It's like so absolutely possible. I mean, you can probably see my neighbor's solar panels in the background. I'm charging my e-car up from my solar panels. We've got the technology, and this is about redesigning. This is an opportunity, this invitation to join, because we are at the conception stage, the Rotorua Off-Grid Tiny House Village, is the possibility of redesigning. How do you want to live? What really spins your wheels? So the off-grid is really, it's a response to this moment in time, and the fact that here in New Zealand we are so resourced, we are so blessed that living off-grid is completely within our reach. So the next element of the village is tiny house, and I am a bit of I like efficiency and effectiveness, and I like to have a space around me that is just what I need. It's beautiful, it's refreshing, it's peaceful to be in, it's clear, and tiny house for me, the word that I find for it is ample. It's ample, and designing it to fit me, to be warm, to use less energy and enhance my outdoor space. So I won't go into the actual village design right now because I'll move on to the last concept. But yeah, the tiny house, I feel, is really an eloquent solution for our housing crisis here in, obviously, not only New Zealand, but globally here on planet Earth. And the last element is village. Now, the village concept is really about a group of people coming together and utilizing these shared resources to develop a neighborhood that is attractive. It creates enough space for everybody to feel like they've got their own little zone that they can create and make as to how they would like. And it also allows for interaction that is by default. You feel like hanging out and chatting, and so you do. You don't feel like it, but you need a cup of sugar. Not that many of us are eating sugar these days. You can. And what I love about the village, and we go back to the regeneration principle, is that I feel that our culture has been slowly eroding, and that as people, we are missing out on so much connection. And I'm not talking about having to be available for people. What I'm talking about is more a quality of being able to be present. And it's equally about being able to enjoy my own time and my own self and my own space, as much as actually being able to engage with people and grow within myself and be grown by that engagement, where I can let go of needing to defend my beliefs and my thoughts, and I can actually open up and just enjoy other people. And for me, there is so much healing that happens in relationship. I personally, as a therapist, for me, it's the most profound healing ingredient is relationship, and whether that's relationship with another, with nature, with ourselves. Yeah, so that kind of walks you through the title, the Rotorua Off-Grid Tiny House Village. It's the title for now. And it just lays out the different elements. It is a paradigm shift. I realize it's not for everybody. However, it's fully for me. And I'm sure there are others out there that are interested. So you are joining at the beginning. I've launched the website this week, and we'll be Zooming with others who are interested in a week or so. And you're going to follow Zola and I in the inception and where this goes-ness. Who knows? So that's the beginning, Zola. That's the concept.
And so when did you first kind of the elements of Rotorua, obviously you're there already, but the tiny home village, when did you really say, I'm going to move on this? You know, I've been having these feelings. I've lived in community before, so I know that's what I want. But in terms of it being that project concept, when would you say that you started making having a little bit of traction on that idea?
Mm-hmm. So it really started breaking through the ground this year, and probably I owned it and felt it about 3 months ago. And it was on the back of just looking at how I'm living and feeling that I wanted to pull my jigsaw puzzle apart and put it back together differently. And really, a large driver for the timing of that was money. I just wanted to, I wanted to reconfigure and be debt free. And so I actually looked at, because I kind of felt the village was 5-10 years away. And so I looked at doing lease land with a tiny house here. And at this particular point, and that's about to change shortly, but at this particular point, it's a very grey area with councils throughout New Zealand. The sudden appearance of tiny houses and what's required for people to live in them permanently as a home. And so I looked into that extensively. I even had my house on the market. I went all out. Tiny house booked in to be built, amazing design, off-grid systems sorted, tick. And it was really the last few council conversations that I was having that I just felt, it's just, we're not set up. Legislation is not set up in New Zealand for all these alternatives to be popping up at the rate that they're popping up at. People are doing it. The tiny house movement's grown 5,000% in something ridiculous like 4 years. It's just gone bananas. And council are they're wanting it, but at the same time, they're bound by legislation. And then in the middle of that is all the personalities and egos and everything else that goes in the soup. So I just decided to put that aside, and I realized I had all this energy. I'd made all these amazing connections with people. I had the concept and the plan was fully downloaded, and I thought, bugger it, I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to see if this is the right time for the village. And so I'd actually tried this a year ago. I tested the waters with council a year ago, and I know to do something radical and alternative ahead of its time like this, you need council on board. And so in my mind, I thought, right, I need a council contact. I need to build rapport with council. This is, this may take a few years, and we're obviously going to need to get creative. And then one of the very next conversations I had about it, I met my person. And so, yeah, it's been the last 3 months, and I've done a couple of proposals for council. And basically where we've got to is we've recognized that the concept can't marry with land until I get the people on board. And so for council to be able to give a forecast of viability, legality, permissibility, that sort of thing, what's required, that a professionally developed plan is needed to give a sense of, what we're intending, how we're intending it, how we're going to be responsible for it. And then council have actually got something to work with. And what's different here is that in an ordinary development, the property developer would go along, wad of cash, buy the land, and then that would set off the chain of events. And so we're coming in with a very different model straight off the bat, because what's required, and this is the stage I'm at with launching the website and connecting with people, is that it's the group that then comes together. They're attracted by the flame, and the flame is the concept. They're attracted because it's, wow, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I really love that. And then that group grows. That group then develop and morph and mold to a point where there is collaboration, cohesion, there's trust, we're on board, we know each other, we feel each other, we're going to do this. And that's when the money and the land can come into the picture. So that's the stage that we're at. And really, I've been giving it my night and day probably for the last 3 months. And I've only ever had incredibly positive support. I've networked and connected with stacks of people, and I realize that my position in this at this point is I know that there are other people out there that have been thinking about this. And I know not everyone's got the confidence or the resources or the ability. And I feel like I've got a good combination of what's required. But I've just brought the seed out. I've just dusted it off and said, hey, wow, look at this. And so really what's required now is people. I'm not going to do this on my own. This is not my idea. I'm just holding space, and I'm looking forward to meeting them.
Yeah, so it sounds like a combination of you doing your homework with seeing, what's a bit possible, feeling the boundaries of what could exist with the collaboration with council. And then now you're at the point of having developed a landing page so that you're able to collect on a form people who are interested. And then through that form, you get their addresses, their email, and then you're able to have a series of Zoom meetings discussing with them the concept, the fact that it's a co-created, co-designed, community-led idea. And you're looking for collaborators who would then become future residents. Really. So it's sort of like that, rather than just waiting for you to develop it and then just moving in. So you're at the stage of you've put it on a few social medias and you've got your landing page, and you are still working in the background, having some other meetings with, as you say, stakeholders in your area. So it's you're now at the point of you're welcoming other people into this process now that you have been doing almost a little bit on your own. Having these meetings, and now you're going to look at your first couple meetings and then taking it from there more as a group process.
Yeah, and I've recognized something from the interactions that I have had, mostly via email, is that you and I, Zola, we've lived in community. You've created community. I've been in some startups which didn't eventuate, but in those experiences we know the path ahead, you more than I, but still, I've been in that beginning phase, and I've looked ahead and I've mapped the journey. And I suspect for a lot of people, they don't necessarily know what that journey is. A lot of people are looking at the finished result, and it's an interesting project because the finished result isn't one person's vision. It's actually everybody that's involved up to that point. And this is the communication that that I'm putting most emphasis on at this stage of opening up to people and saying, here's this concept, check it out. There's heaps of detail about it on the website. And then if people are interested, they've emailed me, and I've sent out my welcome email, and it's quite kind of hard hitting in a sense, but basically I just wanted to show people that we're creating something here. It's never been created before, so it doesn't have a precedent, and in some ways it's going to take courage and confidence and tenacity, and you've got to want what we're creating. But in other ways, there is so much freedom and so much reward because we get to design it, as long as council are happy with what we're up to, and we can fund it and we can all agree. We get to create our home, and we get to have the satisfaction of doing that, not only for ourselves, not only for our community, but as an example for others out there who would love this to happen, for others out there that who, like myself, have found the seed holding the flame, but also for our beautiful planet. You know, she needs humanity to change and step up. And I just keep coming back, and I've had this thought in my mind for a long time now, is that for those of us that are resourced, come on, let's do it. Let's actually let's make these changes. Let's be tangible change and inspire others, lead by example. And yeah, so I've lost the thread of what
so you basically are putting a call out as well to those who feel a bit of capability or capacity to do so, to imagine themselves, whether it's joining your project as sort of a more engaged co-creator, or even where they are, to be able to think about, well, I'm in my area, which is part of the reason why we're sharing your journey, because we're trying to provide a little bit of a roadmap to be able to help other people if they want to stay where they are, to imagine to be able to do something that they have a little bit of a precedent to follow. So you're putting the call out to follow the call that perhaps is sitting inside, to be able to create something, a way of living that really honors people, honors planet, honors culture, honors future generations, Papa Tuanuku, Mother Earth. And that it's not, and the more people that do it, which is again why we're following your story, the easier it is going to be. The more one council can see that another council has been engaging with you and your group and is looking for ways to find solutions, not to block, but to actually allow to happen. And other councils can see that as well. It allows for other councils to also push the edge, go into that space of a bit of unknown for them as well, and perhaps even get some council collaboration. You know, oh, your council did it. How did you get get by these things that otherwise seem like constraints? So, and I'm sure people are going to probably have in their mind, oh, I wonder how's the land going to work? How's the land legal going to work? And I think we'll get into that in another session. You know, those are more the nitty gritty nuts and bolts, maybe haven't been figured out, or I know you've thought about them, of course, but we'll leave that for another session. I know the next session we'll be talking about you as a creator and other folks who feel to step in. What's really that internal work that needs to happen? And that's the really the first step of the journey. And we're going to dive into that as our next topic. So I think we've given people a good start as to being able to understand what got you to this point, to be able to join in your journey by going to your landing page, which we'll put a link on in the end of this video so people can find it easily and join you, or just follow along, kind of like me. I'm a voyeur, although now I'm engaging with you in another way as well. But
you're more than a voyeur, Zola.
Yeah, and I'm going to be hopefully doing something similar as well in my area. So I'm a learner, as well as a facilitator, as well as a teacher, all in the same space, as well as I think you as well. And that's exciting to be able to say, I don't need to be an expert to be able to share my story. It's okay. I sit with a lot of questions and a lot of unknowns, and I'm still willing to share that. And that's what the series is about. It's about
saying, don't have to have it all.
That's right. Here's what I know, and here's what I don't know. And it's fun because we're going to figure that out as we go. So thanks, Lisa, for coming today. To be able to share and being willing to continue this journey going forward together. And I look forward to the many more conversations that we're going to have following the Rotorua off-grid tiny home village.
Nice. Thanks, Sola.
Yeah, kia ora. Thank you, Lisa.
See you next time.